Architect Cass Gilbert designed the Minnesota State Capitol. He was just 35 years old when selected to design the Legislative Center in 1895. Gilbert knew this job could catapult him into the national scene and could make his architectural career. He threw himself into the work, overseeing every aspect of the Capitol project, from construction schedules to furniture design. However, could the Italian marble pillars, a focal point in the Capitol's grand staircases, have escaped his meticulous supervision? Some have claimed workers installing the pillars had no plan to go by, and the columns were haphazardly arranged. On Capitol Quirks, we investigate the stories surrounding the strange and mysterious attributes lurking in the architectural details and paintings of one of Minnesota's most recognizable buildings, the State Capitol. Some of the stories are fact-based, others are merely myths passed down throughout the decades. In this episode, we examine the mystery that encompasses the placement of the pillars as we continue to uncover the truths contained in the State Capitol.
It's 18,000 pounds of solid marble that was used as decoration for the Capitol.
The Italian marble pillars located outside the Senate chamber and Supreme Court chamber are purely for decoration.
These really are only for decoration. They're not load-bearing. The top of the columns are made of plaster, which would never be able to take that weight and the pressure from the weight above it. You know, there's steel beam and construction up above that are holding up those upper floors or the upper structure.
A myth holds that the pillars, each divided in 3 pieces, were randomly put in place when workers assembled them because there wasn't any pattern to follow. It is unlikely that Cass Gilbert, who was involved in every aspect of the building's construction, would have overlooked such a significant detail.
Cass Gilbert was a stickler for detail. In fact, one of the columns, the granite columns in the rotunda, as they were turning it and polishing it, it got smoothed down a little bit too much on one side. And when he came to look at the work, he said, "Take it down because it's not perfect." And so they spent, months and weeks and hundreds of dollars to make this large 18,000-pound piece of stone, and they just rejected it because he wanted it to be perfect.
Brian Pease, the Capitol Historic Site Manager, says there is actually correspondence from Cass Gilbert to the general contractors that assigns a specific placement for each pillar segment.
We do have a correspondence between Cass Gilbert and the Butler brothers, who were the general contractors at that time, with specific instructions saying, I want that middle piece on this column switched about halfway around, and this one should be on this side. And so he was really fine-tuning how the appearance and the look of each of these columns would be. He intended them to be in 3 pieces and not to match.
In addition, a number is clearly carved into the top of the column, creating a numbering system as a way to assemble them.
Each one had a stamp, a chisel stamp in there, so each one is numbered. And so that, when you look at the references in this correspondence where he actually graphed out each of the columns and what he wanted with arrows pointing different directions, he does say, I want C23 and B18 to be moved over to D, whatever it would have been.
Pease believes the pillar design may have been inspired by a trip Cass Gilbert took to Europe.
He was a consummate explorer and traveler to Europe, so what he was doing on his annual trips to Europe was taking notes or sketching things that he would see in historic or important architectural wonders of Europe. And I think with the idea that someday when I get a commission to do something of this scale, I can add some of those elements that were common in Europe. And so this is probably the same thing you would have seen someplace in Europe where they were mismatched columns.
Color was also a factor in the pillar placement.
If you look on the Minnesota Supreme Court side, the Italian marble pillars have more of a greenish-gray tone, matching the interior of the Supreme Court, while the pillars on the Senate side have large pieces of purple coloring and purple and gray veining, so that matches a little bit more of the decor that was originally placed in the Senate.
Could we have order in the chamber, please?
Based on the documentation between Cass Gilbert and the contractors, the stamped number on the columns, and the color balance, it is safe to say this story is merely a myth. The pillars were painstakingly placed where architect Cass Gilbert had intended them to go. When the state capitol opened in 1905, it was considered to be one of America's grandest and most beautiful public buildings. That reputation still stands strong today, and Cass Gilbert's attention to detail continues to be admired more than 100 years after the Capitol was built.